QuickBooks Pro Plus Desktop 2022 OneNote presentation, payroll and employee reports. Let's get into it with Intuit's QuickBooks Pro Plus Desktop 2022. Here we are in OneNote. If you have access to OneNote, would like to follow along, icon left-hand side, topic introductions 4160, payroll and employee reports. Also take a look at the immersive reader tool, topic introductions in the text area too, same name, same number, but with transcripts. Transcripts that can be translated into multiple languages and either listened to or read in them. Same name and number as presentations as well. Topic introductions designed to give an introduction to the topic, provide screenshots and links where applicable, and give accounting background. Can also be used to follow along with the presentations if you don't have access to the software at that time. Closing the icon on the left-hand side, we're looking at the payroll reports as we do. Remember that if you're running payroll within QuickBooks, it's usually an add-on feature. You'd have to turn it on. We will be using the manual payroll, which is a great tool for practice, but not something you probably want to use in practice, due to the fact that it doesn't have as many internal controls and checks against making errors as having the payroll turned on does. And payroll is one of those things that you would like to get right the first time and not have to deal with correcting things. Employees are also the people most likely to sue a business. So you'd like to get the payroll kind of done properly, and it can be quite detailed these days as all the laws can kind of pile up on each other. So in any case, if we look at the balance sheet and we have payroll turned on, the payroll reports are going to be more complicated than some of the other sub-ledger reports, meaning there's multiple accounts that are going to be affected by payroll. The payroll reports are going to be supporting, kind of like sub-ledgers, but supporting those accounts. They're also more detailed because we have much greater need for reporting purposes in terms of the stuff we got to report to the employees, as well as the stuff that we've got to report to the government in terms of, say, quarterly reports, 941s, and the 940, and then the W-2s and the W-3s, and so on. So on the liability side on the balance sheet, we're going to have the liabilities, payroll liabilities, that you could break out into these many categories. You don't have to break out into all these categories. We'll be processing the payroll in our practice problem and doing a little bit more simplistic categorization with just basically payroll liabilities, but you could break them out into these subcategories to give you more detail about them. This is going to be the quarterly reports, the 941s. This reports FICA or federal income tax, Social Security, and Medicare on a quarterly basis. Then we got the year-end reports, the W-2s, the W-3, and then the 940 that needs to be reported. Payroll reports can help you to get the information to make those reports, and or if you've got payroll turned on, depending on the level of payroll that you've got on and are paying for within QuickBooks, they can help you generate those reports. The most common report by far is going to be the payroll summary report. So the payroll summary report looks like this. It kind of reminds you of your pay stub, but you could basically see it in terms of employee by employee or by total over here. This is a similar report that you might get from a third party. If you have a third party doing your payroll like ADP or Paychex, that they might have the detail, and you might use a report something like this to enter a journal entry into your system to get the financial statements to be correct without having to get all the detail, because hopefully you're paying them to do all the detailed stuff and the HR stuff and the giving the information to the employees and all that kind of stuff. So you got the gross pay, which could be salaries, overtime, and so on. Total gross pay, then the withholdings, which include things like the taxes, federal tax, Medicare, Social Security, state taxes, and then any other deductions like health insurance and so forth that are withheld as well, to get to the net pay on a per employee basis, on a total basis. And then you got the employer taxes, which is often the area that many reports don't give you as much detail on. And they're going to be important so that you could tie them out to your quarterly reports and to your year-end report 940 and your W-2s and all that kind of stuff. So this report has that. On the profit and loss side of things, we're going to have the expenses. Usually you have at least one payroll expense account, and then oftentimes you'll break out the payroll and the taxes, payroll expenses and the taxes. So we'll do that in our practice problem later, but the reports can help us to tie out to those numbers too. Here's the profit and loss report again, which we have the workers' comp up here, insurance, which is also something that could be, part of the payroll processing as well. Reports drop down, the employee and payroll. So you got your information. These are all the payroll reports that you can see in the drop down format. This summarized payroll in Excel is useful too. So you can export this to Excel and you got a lot of reports in there. that are formatted nicely. It looks something like this, although this is in the example file, so it's all the reports haven't been populated quite nicely because it's that practice or temporary file, but you can see all the reports that they give you in an Excel format here. The employee journal, so you got the breakout by the employees, compensation, federal tax, Social Security, Medicare, state tax, and so on. Great report, but once again, it doesn't give you the employer taxes, which is often the thing that's kind of missing in some of these reports. So you can take a look at those items in Excel too. Those are some nice reports if you have access to them. This is going to be the payroll item details. So now we're breaking this stuff out by the items, by the payroll items. So the items mean the items are going to be set up and help drive the payroll when you set up the payroll. Payroll detail reviews, the payroll detail review. This is the federal withholding, so it's going to be breaking out the information and giving you more detail. So if there's a problem in it, you want to drill down on it, then you can look at some of these detail reports. Payroll transactions by payee. So now we got the state, the surgent insurance, the state fund. So the people that were paying by payee. And then we got the employee and payroll reports. This is the payroll transaction detail. So now you got the payroll actual transactions. Here's the paycheck. Here's all the stuff that's impacted by it. It looks a little bit overwhelming, but this is actually a good report to kind of understand on a paycheck by paycheck basis. Again, it's probably not the report that you're going to look at on a quarterly basis or yearly basis to try to figure things out. But if you're trying to understand a payroll from a journal entry by journal entry and person by person, it could be a useful report to take a look at. And if there's any problems with a particular item, could be a useful report. Employee earnings summary. So now we got the salary, the overtime, the regular pay, the sick pay, the vacation, and then you've got the withholdings here again. So another format of seeing similar type of information by employee and by total. And this, but again, it doesn't do a great job of giving you the employer taxes in this report as well, which is the reason that first summary report is often the most useful one.